Welcome to Booktopia TV. I'm John Purcell. I'm very happy to be here with Graeme Simsion, the author of the Rosie Project, and soon, the Rosie Effect. Welcome, Graeme.
Morning, John.
I know that there's probably only 4 or 5 people in the whole world who haven't heard of the Rosie Project, but we like to be inclusive here at Booktopia. So, can you tell us a little bit about the Rosie Project for those 4 or 5 people?
4 or 5 people. Yeah, well, there's actually a lot of people who haven't heard about the Rosie Project. You look at sales and you say, wow, it's wonderful to have sold 150,000 or so in Australia, but you look at the population of Australia and you look at, well, the number of people who bought 50 Shades of Grey or Harry Potter, and there's still a big market of people out there.
Okay, get on to it, okay? If you don't know about the Rosie Project, you better get on to it. So tell us about it. So what's the story? Why should people be reading this book?
Oh, okay, there's 2 things. What's the story? The story is it's a comedy about a 39-year-old socially challenged professor of genetics called Don Tillman, who sets out to find the perfect wife scientifically, constructing a 16-page double-sided questionnaire to eliminate all the women who've given him grief in the past. I mean, his motivation is that for having a partner is that married men live longer, scientific studies show, and so forth. Married men are happier, so he wants a bit of that for himself. He meets somebody who's totally inappropriate, checks none of his boxes. This is Rosie, and she's on a mission of her own to find her biological father. And he and Rosie set out, Don and Rosie set out through surreptitious DNA testing to find out who the man is. So it's a little bit of a romp that way. Why should people read it? It's an easy read. It's laugh out loud funny, I'm told, and plenty of feedback to that effect. And I like to think that it's got an intellectual and emotional core as well. So, yeah.
Well, all the reviews, I mean, you've got reviews in the Times, the Guardian, all over the world, say things like endearing, funny, joyous. I mean, that's a pretty good reason to read a book, I think, if you get those sort of emotions out of a read.
Yeah, I like to think it's uplifting without being sappy.
Yeah. So for people who have read the Rosie Project, and there are hundreds of thousands who have, you've got some pretty big news. You've got a sequel coming, The Rosie Effect.
Yeah, I'd never planned to write a sequel. I tied off the Rosie Project with a view that would be with Don Tillman. There shouldn't be, I didn't think, sequels to romantic comedies. But on reflection, I decided that Don's life was not yet over. There was at least one more major challenge of the same dimensions as finding a partner facing him. So I wrote The Rosie Effect. I'm very happy with it. I've really just finished it. I was reading proofs just yesterday, so we are pretty much close to it, and it's targeted for publication in September.
Brilliant. No, we've got a lot of customers who have bought the Rosie Project through Booktopia, and we're going to be telling them all about the Rosie Effect very shortly. We're hoping hoping for you and for Don as well to have as much success with the sequel as with the first book.
Look, I think you can safely say that if people have enjoyed the Rosie Project, they'll enjoy the Rosie Effect. And if they didn't enjoy the Rosie Project, it's probably not worth looking at the Rosie Effect.
There's talk of a movie of the Rosie Project. And can you got any news about that?
Okay, the situation with the movie is that the screenwrites have been optioned to Sony Pictures in the US.
It's a big company, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Columbia, it's big, yeah. And I got the Screenwriting Gig, which I'm very happy about. Screenplay, or first draft, I've written and submitted. And just in the last few weeks, we've started to hear some noise about progress happening there.
Brilliant. We're pretty excited about that too, because I really hope that takes the Rosie Project to another level and really gets it into everybody's consciousness, and we get masses of people all over the world reading it. I can already see the Rosie Project as a movie.
Well, look, I think it's one of those things that once something's made as a movie, and I think of The Book Thief, Fault in Our Stars, and so forth at the moment. Even something like The Great Gatsby leaping back into the bestseller lists on the back of a movie, which I think is wonderful that we get that publicity, but I would be saying, whether or not the movie gets made or when the movie gets made, the Rosie Project is still out there to buy. So
yeah, they used to worry that books would actually kill off. I mean, movies would actually kill off books. And instead, what you're finding is that movies from books are actually selling books. They're actually increasing reading rather than decreasing reading.
Yeah, well, I mean, realistically, it's a movie. A movie of the Rosie Project is going to run 90, 100 minutes. The audio version of the Rosie Project takes 7.5 hours to read. So there's some more there in the book that isn't there in the movie.
I know that your road to publication was unusual, so you might not go and give that advice to a person seeking first publication. But what advice would you give to anyone trying to get published who's got a good idea and wants to write a book?
Okay. It's hard to get published. I would be working on a portfolio to start with, so I'd be writing short stories and submitting them for publication and getting published, so that when you write that inquiry letter to an agent or to a publisher, it starts off saying, I'm the author of X, Y, and Z, and immediately they know that you are a legitimate author, that you've actually done something out there. And it's also good practice for real publication. I think that if you're writing short stories, for example, but without publication in mind, you'll put them aside before they're perfect. Whereas if you're planning to publish, you'll print it off and go, oh no, something isn't quite right, and it'll teach you to make a story as good as you can possibly make it, or a piece of work.
So that last part is the most important, you think, when you're going to publication, that refining and the smaller details?
Look, I think when you go to publication, you better make sure that first chapter at least is as good as you can make it. It needs to be absolutely compelling, because a lot of books submitted for publication. You can't kid yourself, they all get read end to end, but if you've captured somebody, I think in the first few pages and the end of the first chapter, then you've got a little bit more leeway to get it wrong after that. I mean, I'm not an acquisitions editor, I'm not speaking from practical experience, but I am saying that all I've heard is that, the same applies to screenplays, that decisions are made quite quickly.
Yeah. And
the decision is throw it aside, or maybe read on here, and you've got a lot more tolerance once someone's actually into your story.
Thank you very much for coming in. We're all looking forward to the Rosie Effect, and we will keep supporting both books as long as we can, because we're all in love with it. And thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
The Rosie Project is available on booktopia.com.au right now, and the Rosie Effect is actually available for pre-order